This program is rated PG. It contains themes and scenes which may not be suitable for very young audiences. Parental guidance is advised.
Be advised that the views and opinions of the hosts and guests do not reflect those of the station.
Magandang gabi po sa inyo lahat. Welcome to our show, ang Heartbeat Live. I'm your host, Reo Rosa. Pag-uusapan natin sa gabi pong ito mga bagay na maselan at titingin sa nangyayari sa kabuuan ng lipunan. Ang bisita ko po ngayong gabi ay ang dati naman nating suki dito sa Heartbeat. Wala na pong iba kundi si Bishop Leo Alconga, National Vice Chairman po ng People for Jesus movement. His very position tells you that he is involved in the things that are happening in this nation. Kanya natin siya inanyayahan dito. So welcome, Bishop Leo. Thank you so much for coming. I know it's again. Such a struggle to come here because of the traffic. Ano po. So I wanted to just ask you, especially because you are so deeply involved in the Philippines for Jesus movement, and many times you are called to attend many public public meetings, either to say a prayer or to give your own thoughts and opinions. Pero dito ngayon sa gabi pong ito, Bishop Leo, we wanted to focus on one issue. Nakita na natin ang nangyayari sa bansa natin. Dito sa unang taon ng term ni Presidente Duterte, ngayon sa lahat ng nangyari, can you give me an assessment? Ano sa iyo ang mga pinakamahalaga na naganap dito sa isang taon na ito at ano ang ibig sabihin niyan para sa bayan? Although the topic is very broad and we can spend the next 1 year talking about it here, but what I wanted to do is, kasi ang perspective mo unique eh. You are a devoted Christian and a Christian leader. At the same time, you are concerned with anong responsibilidad ng simbahan o ng mga Kristiyano and ano ang maaaring gawin at ano ang mga leksyon na maaari nating makita sa lahat ng nangyayari.
In any entry of any political leadership, there is always what we call hope. There is what we call a great expectation for change. And there is also what we are seeing as the changes that is not only apparently for national in nature, but also even for family and individual. And so this year, at the start of this political leadership of the incumbent president, there was what you call this a euphoric expectation of great change.
Some people talk about it as saying something like this, no, not all, some, that President Duterte is the first president who does not belong to the elite leadership. In other words, but rather reflected many of the massive values and expectations, and that is part of the reason why he attained such great popularity. Now, having said that, what does it impose on him, if anything at all?
Well, he has to fulfill, first of all, the expectation of the people.
In what way? Can you explain? Ano bang expectation ng tao?
For example, he promised that the eradication of the drug problem in 6 months.
Okay.
He promised also at the same time to eradicate
Corruption.
And at the same time, he promised that the nation will be given a new journey of hope that has never been experienced, especially for the masses. And yet, we
In other
know
words,
that,
he will deal with the poverty problem.
yes, and yet we know that all of these are, in terms of political scenario, are big promises. Although he does not, as you said, he does not belong to any political party, but actually, technically, he belongs to one, the PDP Laban. But his platform is that he carries the sentiments and aspirations of the people.
16 million of them.
Yes, 60 million of them. And that's why, based on this, what we call political foundation or political mileage that he had gained during the after the election, it seems that the incumbent president is not worried of any political pressure around him.
Mukhang wala siyang kinatatakutan.
Wala eh. Talagang diretso-diretso siya. Especially on his promise on the eradication of drug and eradication of graft and corruption, not so much on poverty. Because just recently, nationwide survey says that
Poverty is worse.
yes. And so we have to be accurate as much as possible and be balanced in judging the current situation. And as far as the current situation is concerned, as far as the church is concerned, because you mentioned that I'm also a churchman, it is necessary for the church to understand what is clearly happening, and by virtue of that, an amount of greater prayer should be called upon each of our constituency. And then an
Yun
amount...
lang ba ang gagawin ng people who are in church work na just to pray?
No, I was also going into the second matter. Secondly, we should be engaged. We should be connected.
What does that mean? When you say that kailangan maging engaged tayo, connected tayo sa political process, does that mean we will engage in partisan politics?
No, not
Anong ibig sabihin nun?
As a church, we should be vocal, we should be loud in our proponent for righteousness.
Okay.
We should be loud in our proponent for justice.
Okay.
And we should be loud in our proponent for truth. And if there is necessity for us to converge as a group to express that sentiment, then we must do so. We must fulfill the provision of Matthew chapter 5 that says, "Ye are the light, the salt of the earth."
Kung wala ka ng alat
Yes.
o asim, ano pa ang silbi mo?
Yes, that's why the happening today requires salt, requires light. Because salt is a preservative of anything that is good. And if you put it in the context of society, then we need to preserve something.
Or we have to be the preservative?
Yes, or we have to be a direct preservative.
Okay. Does that mean necessarily, ibig sabihin nun, para ikaw ay maging taga-preserba ng lipunan, hindi pwedeng tatami-tamimi ka dyan at walang kibo.
At manahimik.
Oh.
Okay? Because we have graduated from that portion in which they say that if you belong to the church, you do not speak on what is happening in the political arena. But that is wrong. The more that the church must be in the front line to speak when justice is being threatened, when righteousness is being threatened, when truth is about to be trampled upon.
Okay, but does that mean critical collaboration with any administration? Or does that mean involving yourself in the partisan political struggle?
Not necessarily a political struggle. Because you see, in the Holy Scriptures, particularly in the Old Testament, the prophets stands between God and the people. But it also affected the ruling, what you call this, elite of society. When the prophets speak, he speaks as the voice of God. And what he does proclaim are exactly the agenda of God for the nation, which is being set aside or neglected by any political leaders.
Okay, pero alam mo naman sa lumang tipan lalo na, pinapatay yung mga propeta eh.
That's true.
So, in other words, when we declare our prophetic word about whatever is going on in the nation, should the people of God or should the leader or should the prophet be aware that he will be misunderstood?
Yes.
Okay? Because dito, when you speak towards an issue, dalawang paraan para pag nadinig ng mga namumuno yung ganyang klaseng salita. Are you being simply issue-oriented and pointing out in polite language what may be going on that misses the mark of justice or righteousness? Or are you simply being critical and then if the leaders then take it personally, aba, kinakalaban mo ko ah. Ano ba ang gusto mo? Gera?
That is a risk that has to be considered by those who will stand on the ground of truth, justice, and righteousness. There is a danger, in fact, in other places of the country, there is a danger that your life will be, threatened. And somehow your life will be taken as an example of power and misuse of power.
Katulad nitong pare na sinamahan yung isa na ni-release ata na hinuli for some reason pero na-release na, pero pinatay yung pare.
Yes.
So, ganun talaga yan. In other words, should you, for example, pagka meron kang nagawa sa paninindigan, do you want to do it quietly or do you want everybody to know about it?
It's better to shout it loud. So that everyone must know. One, so that they cannot accuse the church or the Christian behaving as if nothing is happening. You see? Secondly, we want to actualize the agenda of the kingdom.
Okay. Has anybody ever defined the agenda of the kingdom except in general, generic terms?
You see, in the Lord's Prayer, there we have an idea of what the agenda of the kingdom is all about. Thy kingdom come here as it is in heaven. And we are seeing here a clear indication of what is there in heaven under the governance of God. And that is justice, righteousness, truth, love also, mercy also, and judgment.
In the scriptures, especially in the Gospels, during the time of Christ, Israel was under Roman law and oppression by the Roman powers. But you don't hear the Lord ever saying anything or condemning or telling them to rise up or speak up. Why do you think that is? But before you answer, ilan mo ng paalala, babalik po kami.